All right, we're back on Minnesota Sports Live. We have a special guest. It's been a long time, Voldy, since the Sports Zone
Sports
days
Zone,
at
yep.
SMSU.
Mhm.
We had him on. Well, gosh, I want to say 2, 3 times or whatever it was. It
A
was
few
always a
times.
great time.
Few
We
times.
welcome former SMSU assistant coach Trevor Paine back to Minnesota
Yeah,
Sports.
T-Paine.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been a while, far too long, but happy to be here and brings back memories of my days in Marshall, Minnesota.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
definitely. And obviously we were talking before the show here, and you're happy to be in California right now. Let's be honest, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, the weather alone is all the incentive I need to try to at least stay here for a while. But I do miss lots of things about Minnesota, my time at Southwest, the people I met there, like you guys, and that was a really fun 2 years. In hindsight, one of the best moves I could have made for my coaching career was going out there and learning under Blanche and getting to expand my tree a little bit and get some real coaching experience. So yeah, love my time in Marshall. I want to go back there one of these days and visit it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're gonna
Sure.
we're gonna get into that. But since you left SMSU, you've been doing some big things. What have you been up to? Kind of explain to the zoners what you've been up to since your SMSU days.
Yeah, so right from Southwest, I went back to California, or I came back to California, and I got offered a job from Jake McKinley, who at the time was the head coach at Menlo College. And so Jake was a guy I had known from my Sac State days. He was on the coaching staff, and we coached together. So we developed a friendship, and even at Southwest, I kind of used him for some of my classes as like a mentor, a coaching mentor, and just you know luck lucky enough to be kind of the right time for him to where he needed a hitting coach, and he offered me the job. So I moved to the Bay Area, which is actually an area of California I'd never lived in before. I was in the town was called Atherton, and Atherton is like known to be like the most expensive um area code to live in the country. So you're talking like Google tech billionaires and
Oh
stuff
boy.
like
Oh
that. And
wow,
I think Steph Curry has a house like right there by the Menlo campus. It's
there you
Of
go.
it's right
course.
on the for you Minnesotans. It's like right on the peninsula, right by like Stanford, Palo Alto area.
Yep.
So I lived there for a year and coached for a year, and we had a really successful season. Again, I got to kind of um, keep kind of getting my experience recruiting and coaching hitting. And after that year, our whole coaching staff came over to WilliamJessup University, which is in Rockland, which is where I'm originally from and grown up, and my
Yeah.
family's lived since 1991. So I basically came back home. And so our staff took over the program here, and we inherited a team that won 10 games the year before we got there. And then our first year as a coaching staff, we won 41 games, won the
Wow.
conference tournament, won the conference regular season conference championship. And so basically, it was a 31 game turnaround. It was the biggest turnaround in college baseball history. So, we led the country in home runs that year. We improved a lot of our stats, had the first player in program history drafted. So, just by having that much success that quick, our coaching staff started getting interest from Division I teams, from pro ball. So we kind of put this plan in place that if our head coach Jake was to leave, then I would get elevated to head coach. And he eventually took a job, or got offered a job with the Milwaukee Brewers in December
Wow.
of that year. And so right before the season started, I became head coach. And so I've been the head coach here since the spring of 2019. And so it's really cool. It's can't ask for much more than to be able to be the head coach of the program in your hometown.
Yeah.
And it's awesome school, small school, private school. We're an NAI program that's actually in the process of transitioning to NCAA Division II.
Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
that's actually kind of what the timeline looks like. Is we kind of submit all our final paperwork to the NCAA in
Sure.
January, and we basically get a thumbs up or thumbs down, and everything we've been told is we're going to get a thumbs up. And so then it starts kind of the transition process. So yeah, I obviously love it here. I'm obviously biased. I think it's a great place to live. I think it's a great place for, you know, kids to go to school. It's, you know, Rockland is just a suburb outside of, about 20 minutes outside of Sacramento. So
Okay.
you're enough outside of a big city to, you know, it's the burbs when it's all said and done, but you're close to Tahoe. You can get over to the Bay Area if you want to, Napa, wine country, whatever you want to do. It's all within like a pretty short drive. So yep, that's what I've been up to since, shoot, when did I leave? 2016. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's around there. But
Mhm.
I mean, that's great. I mean, congratulations for one.
Appreciate that.
Since we haven't
Yeah,
gotten it,
man.
you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
that's fantastic. And then through 4 seasons, and obviously I had to look this up, but you guys right now are 109 and 73. That's over 50%. I mean, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. So congratulations with
Thank
that.
you.
And I mean, that's awesome. And
Appreciate
you
it.
know, we definitely, you know, I've kept our eye just being like, we got to check in with Coach Paine, see how he's doing, and you're doing quite well. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. You and the guys and whatnot are doing fantastic. So, you know, you kind of ran through a lot of things that we talked about previously on Sports Zone. Gosh, I can't even think of my own former show.
Should have wore the other shirt tonight is what we should have done.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, with William and Jessup, you know, what's when you're coaching and whatnot, we asked this of Coach Bo, and you know Coach Bo from you know, back then and whatnot.
Yeah.
We asked him this question too, and he was on the show as well. What's kind of your coaching philosophy, and like, what are your greatest strengths as a baseball coach, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, if I was to describe my coaching philosophy, like I would like to think I'm a player's coach. Like I think I do a pretty good job of relating to, you know, kind of just being in their shoes as a college baseball player, and you know, all that comes with the territory, and just, you know, the time management, and you know, it really is like a full-time job. So I think I can relate to them very well on that aspect, because I like to think I'm still somewhat young, even though sometimes I wake up and a tough time getting out of bed and don't feel so young anymore. But I think patience is one thing, like a skill of mine I've always had. That, you know, you understand there's going to be failure, you understand there's going to be mistakes. At the end of the day, they're 20, 21, 22-year-old, 18-year-old kids that are going to have their ups and downs. But you know, I think that is definitely a skill that I've had for a long time that helps me, you know, communicate with them, and you know, never getting too high, never getting too low. Like
Sure.
I've always said that, like, I think teams really mirror the emotions of their coaching staff. And when, you know, when the coach is high, the team's high. When the coach is low, the team's low. So I like to stay pretty steady Eddie, like even keeled. So you know, ultimately, as a, you know, for a philosophy, I just want this to be a program, and me as a coach, that guys feel comfortable around, that guys enjoy being part of. You know, I'm hoping that the best part of their day is when they show up to the field for practice, and they're looking forward to coming to the field the next day. So yeah, that's, you know, a roundabout way of kind of explaining what my, you know, coaching philosophy is. But yeah, you know, we want guys in the recruiting process that have high goals for their career. And so, you know, our job as coaches is to try to, you know, put them in a position to make those dreams a reality, and give them all the resources they need. And you know, also preparing for the real world. You know, we tell
Sure.
everyone, you know, at a certain point, that expiration date on your playing career is going to come, and it's probably going to come sooner than you really realize. So
Yeah.
just being prepared for the real world, and understanding that you know, in the real world, like, you know, things aren't easy. They're not handed to you. Like, you have to earn everything. So yeah, I think me and our coaching staff does a good job of, you know, preparing guys week in and week out for, you know, for games, and then, you know, hopefully for the real world as well.
Definitely. Well said, for one. And kind of my next one for you too is like, what are the first things you do? Like, you know, when you were when you're assistant coach at, SMSU and whatnot, hitting coach, you go through, help with your hitters and whatnot. Like what are the first things you kind of look at when you're evaluating players? Like not only with hitting, but also, like fielding, pitching, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every position is a little bit different. Like
Sure.
one thing we really want, especially out of like position players, is just like like athleticism, versatility. And really arm strength is one that we kind of like key in on for position players. We feel pretty confident that like us as a coaching staff and with my hitting coach and just the resources we have around them, that like we can teach them to hit. So if guys are athletic and have arm strength, they can do a lot of different things. They can play a lot of different positions. So that'll be kind of one of the first things we look at, like what kind of athlete is the kid? And then you look at, just what are the tools, like, is there some bat speed there? Like, do they have an idea of what they're doing offensively? Like, what kind of actions do they have in the infield? Like, how are their hands? Like, catching's obviously a little bit different positions. Like, you really try to recruit up the middle. So, catchers, middle infielders, like center fielders, like, because those guys can usually, if they can't stick there, can move to the corners, like, and slide out and everything. So, you want guys that are competitive, like love to win, work hard. Like, obviously, you try to do your due diligence on how they are as a person. Are they going to fit your culture? Like, are they going to embody some of the values you have? If they come visit campus and you're walking them around, like, how do they interact with their family? Like, how do they talk to their parents? Like, are they respectful? Do they hold doors open? Like, all that stuff is just kind of going through your head when you're meeting a kid face to face. And you want a kid ideally that's relatively well spoken, like, can he articulate? Not all the kids can. Some kids are very nervous. I remember me as a 17-year-old talking to college coaches, and I was for sure probably nervous and everything. So ultimately at the end of the day, it's like, is this kid going to make your program better? Is this kid on the field, off the field, in the classroom, in the community? Is he going to represent the program well? And is he the type of person that we want to be around every single day? So I think there is no like science to it. I think it's kind of one of those, like, you can have your evaluations of what will ultimately translate to our level and the next level and everything. And at the end of the day, I think it's more of like what the coaching staff can get out of the player and what kind of player can you turn him into, because very rarely are kids a finished product and everything. Sure. So yeah, we have like our little, I wouldn't even say I have like a checklist of like he needs to check like all these physical or tools boxes or anything, but I think you kind of know it when you see it, and then you go through the process, and then ultimately decide is this person someone that can make your program, like, impact your program in a positive way.
Go from there. But you got some guys from Canada, and obviously Coach Bo is up there too. So have you been keeping in touch with guys like Coach Bo and Barthel and everything like that?
Yeah, I exchange texts with Bo every once in a while, just check in on. I know he's up with the Blue Jays now, and awesome for him. Really cool opportunity for him to get into pro ball, and I'm sure he'll do a really good job there, and that'll open up a lot of doors. Blaine, yeah, Coach Barthel, I talk to every once in a while as well. Like, I think him and I. We probably exchanged texts maybe once a month, and then have chatted on the phone a couple times, because he's a junior college coach now. So I'll check in on his guys, and he'll send me film of his guys every now and then, just to take a look at and everything, and just check in, just basically recruiting stuff and everything. So I know he's a dad now too, and so happy for him and his wife. So I try to stay in contact. Blanche, same thing. We'll exchange texts every now and again. So one of the things we used to always go to the ABCA, the coaches convention. Shield, did you go with us that one year? I can't.
Nope.
You
Nope,
didn't?
never had the pleasure of going to the coaches convention.
Okay, so that was always one of those things that we really looked forward to, because that was my opportunity, like, to see those guys again and hang out with those guys. And just since COVID and everything, like, we've stopped making the trip out because they kind of put everything online to stream and everything. And so we've opted to kind of just stay at home and not travel. And but the downside is you don't get to see those guys in person like you used to. So hopefully one of these days we'll be able to make it back and all connect in person together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, have you had some, I wouldn't want to say heated debates, but, some are you and Barthel, John back and forth via text, or is that still going on? Or
I've gone easy on him a little bit. I mean, he's a dad now. So I can't rub like the Minnesota sports in his face. I was actually telling someone, like a week ago that, me and Blaine had this bet going that if the Gophers ever made it to the Rose Bowl, I would buy us tickets to go watch the Gophers in the Rose Bowl. And obviously hasn't happened yet, and I feel pretty confident that it's not going to happen anytime in the near future. I'm hoping Blaine doesn't see this and hold me to it if they do make it in the near future.
Cut the clip right now, Callahan. We're making sure that Barthel sees this one.
He probably will anyway, so I mean, that's just how it's going to be. But eventually, I do kind of want to have them both on, so we'll definitely have you on. And
absolutely, that would be a good time.
So I got two kind of fun ones for you. Then I'm gonna pass it over to Shield here. So I asked this of Coach Bo. I'm going to ask this of you. If there was an opening for the Twins, if there was like a coaching opening and whatnot, would you take it?
So with like the big league team?
Yeah, big league Minnesota Twins.
I would definitely entertain that for sure. It depends what the position is like, but I would definitely entertain it for sure. Yeah.
Good. Because I mean, I think Coach Bo said the same thing. I mean, if you want to come back to the weather that we got here, even though it'd be, summer, spring and all that stuff, fall, fall's very nice, I will say.
Yeah. Fall and spring are great there. Even summer's all right. A little humid at times. And,
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But that's great because they definitely do need it. So hopefully they give you a ring, you and Coach Bo.
Yeah, did the Twins fire Rocco Baldelli? Or do you guys?
No, not yet.
Still got him.
I shouldn't say not yet. Excuse me. I shouldn't say not yet. But no, they have not. And then, but no, that's good. All right, last one. I'm passing over to Shield because, so I don't know if you remember this, but here we go, Shield. Yeah, you know what's coming.
I saw this question. I immediately eye rolled because I just know where this question's going to go. So
I don't know if you remember this, Coach Paine, but we did kind of like, so it was the last Sports Zone ever, whatnot. So we decided to make like a documentary. So we did some impressions and things like that. So Paul did an impression of you, actually. I think you have seen the video. Out of 10, where would you rate Shield's impression of you?
It was up there for sure. Like it was, I'm always with anything. I never give anything a 10, because then you're saying like nothing can be better than that. So I'll give Shield like a solid like 8.7. It was good.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You know what's funny is this fall. Every fall we do like a big team competition. We divide our team into like two separate teams, and they have like a team name. We do all these different challenges and stuff, like these competitions. And one of the competitions we had this year was each team had to designate one guy from their team to do an impersonation of each coach. And so it was pretty funny. The guys who impersonated me did a pretty good job. I got a good laugh out of it. So it reminded me of Shield's impersonation. So, yeah.
Are you still a big fan of the yellow Gatorade, not the G2 stuff, right?
So I have actually converted over to orange. I am team orange 100%.
Interesting.
Yellow is now my 2, but
Okay.
orange like surpassed it by quite a bit. So
Interesting.
yeah, I don't drink Gatorade too often, but when I do, it is orange.
All right. So I know that when we initially set up this interview, you said we got some hot takes, and you
Yes.
even mentioned it as well. We got to talk Bay Area sports. You're a Niners guy, you're a San Fran Giants guy. So we got to get right to it. Of course, we're in the middle of the football season. San Francisco, the Niners, they are in a very interesting situation. Of course, Trey Lance is out. Jimmy G might be able to come back and they make it all the way to the NFC Championship. But Brock Purdy, QB1 in the QB room. What do you think of that whole situation right now with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, the Niners quarterback situation for the last, I don't know, 12 months or whatever since the end of last year has been a very hot button topic with, basically handing it over to Trey, which I thought ultimately was probably the right move. You invest so much draft capital and everything into moving up, and you take him. And so I thought it was the right move. And then, they couldn't get anything for Jimmy, so you bring him back. So obviously a weird dynamic. We don't really get to see that dynamic play out very long because Trey gets hurt so quick. And so I think there was a large portion of the fan base that was actually, I don't want to say they were excited or happy that Trey got hurt, because they weren't by any means, very bad injury. But I think a lot of people thought that, a team with as much talent as they have, it's tough to just hand it over to a second-year quarterback. And so I think a lot of people felt really good about Jimmy, and he was starting to play some of the best ball he's played in his career.
For sure.
And then he gets hurt, and it's like, well, now you're on to the last pick of the draft and a rookie. And I mean, he's been outstanding. Like, he's been a lot of fun to watch. What I will say is, like, the Niners system is probably one of the most quarterback friendly systems.
Yeah.
If not in the league, maybe in NFL history, with as much as they can do with running the ball and all the weapons they have. And just, it's as long as, like, Brock Purdy can not turn the ball over. There's so much you can do with Christian McCaffrey and with Debo when he comes back, and Kittle and Ayuk and all these guys that, like, you should be able to still move the ball and score points. Like, we have a good defense, so a lot of the pressure doesn't rest on the quarterbacks. So I mean, there's a lot of people, I don't know how much truth there is to this or how serious people are, but saying, let's go with Brock Purdy for the future. Let's trade Trey Lance and see what I'm not ready to say that.
No,
by any means, but I mean, he's established himself as he can play quarterback in the National Football League. And there's been a couple instances where he's shown his youth, and he's shown why he was, a 7th round pick. He lacks a little bit of arm strength and everything, but he's mobile, which is something Jimmy wasn't. And I'd say the arm strength is probably pretty on par. Like, Jimmy's never been a guy that could really drive the ball down the field. But I think Kyle Shanahan's smart enough to know what his limitations are, which plays will set him up for success. And I mean, ultimately, once he gets to the playoffs, I think they're just going to try to run the ball, and hopefully by then Elijah Mitchell's back, and this other rookie they have, the Jordan Mason kid's been really good. So there should be enough ways to get the ball in playmakers' hands.
How about where do you see this team going? Obviously, we've talked about the defense being able to keep the Niners in games. Looking at last couple of games of the regular season, the matchups are going to be in the obviously the playoffs too. How far do you see this Niners team going?
Yeah, I mean, it's they made it to the NFC Championship game last year, and I think you can very much make the argument that they probably could have won that game. Jaquiski Tartt dropped like a interception, like right in his hands, that ultimately if he catches that things might be a little bit different. And then you match up with the Bengals in the Super Bowl, and that's a good game. I think potentially a winnable game. They had beat the Bengals in Cincinnati earlier in the year.
That's right.
Ours
Yeah.
is this year. To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of the Eagles. I know they're lighting the world on fire. They're probably not catchable from the 1 seed perspective right now. So we're kind of looking at that, if the Vikings can slip up like I thought they were going to do the other day, which looked like they were going to do. I keep seeing everyone say they're like the worst 10-2, 11-2 team of all time. Like, you still got to win ball games. I don't see them as like this terrible team that a lot of people are saying they are. So ideally, I'd like us to get the 2 seed. So in the divisional round, the Vikings have to come out to San Francisco. The Niners have been a much better home team than road team this year. Or at least some of those early games they dropped were on the road. So I'd like those games to be at home. So,
Sure.
And you would have to assume coming out of the AFC, it's probably like a 3-horse race between the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. And obviously, seeing what Mahomes did to the Niners earlier in the year in Levi was like pretty frightening. I don't want to see that again. So it's all going to come down to matchups. I think things will more than likely probably play out pretty chalk. It'll probably be the Niners, Eagles, in my opinion, in the NFC Championship game. No disrespect to your Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And it's going to be if they can go into Philly and slow down that offense, and if they can get to the quarterback, if Bosa can put some heat on Jalen Hurts, then I like our chances. I don't think our secondary is like our strongest part of our defense, and so AJ Brown and Devonta Smith worry me a little bit, but hopefully once it comes to cold weather, January, you think it's kind of a game one in the trenches, and so I like the Niners' chances, and then in the Super Bowl, I just hope we play anyone but the Chiefs.
We'll make a note of that. So it's going to be a Niners non-Chiefs Super Bowl. I like it.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'll go. I don't know. Josh Allen lit up them. I'll go Niners Bengals. Is my prediction. Niners win. So that's what I'm hoping for.
All right, I like it. We'll make a note of that, and when we get to our Super Bowl show, we'll be sure to bring that up too. But obviously, we got to talk about your Giants too, because they've been making some moves here this offseason. Seeing a lot of big boy moves in the Bay Area. You get Carlos Correa. We're not going to talk about that. Mitch Haniger, Sean Mania, and also Ross Stripling to help bolster that rotation. How do you feel about some of those moves made by the Giants?
I love them. I love the moves. So this is for Bay Area sports fans, and this is a super polarizing topic, and that's Farhan. Like Farhan Zaidi, our director of baseball operations, basically the guy pulling the strings.
Yep.
It is the roller coaster that fans have gone on with him has been something like I've never seen out of Bay Area sports. They hated him, and then they won 107 games, and they loved him. And then this last year, they hated him again. And then it's, we don't sign Aaron Judge. It's fire Farhan, where I like to think of myself as a smarter baseball or Giants fan than the average fan. So they're in a really, really weird situation. And I don't think it's anyone's fault, where like Farhan came in after like the Bruce Bochy era. Basically, that was the end of the Bochy era. They had, after winning the World Series, in 2014, their third one, they had started to extend all these guys, extend your Brandon Belts and your Madison Bumgarners and Brandon Crawfords, and all these guys were starting to regress. So it's like, well, these are guys who are homegrown, here, local heroes that won the World Series. And so Farhan had to come in and kind of clean things up. Like they were basically in no man's land when Farhan got here. It's like, we're paying all these old regressing players. The farm system has nobody coming up. And so you kind of have to play this waiting game to get these guys off their money. And he's done that. And he won like 107 games in the process and won the West. And the only, what really actually is hurting him with the fans is they just were too good too quick, and they caught lightning in a bottle for 1 year, and you had all these guys have career years. So like this last year, all those guys who had career years kind of regressed back to the means, and that's how you end up, being basically a 500 team. Is regression is a natural part of baseball, and some of these guys are aging and everything. So I think they were in one of the best spots you can be in as a franchise going into this offseason, that basically they're not paying anyone. Like, they have nothing but cap space and money to spend. So you go out and you try to get an Aaron Judge, and they went for it. And it's, can't blame a guy for making a decision to stay where he's played for his whole career, a team like the Yankees. So I think they truly went all in on trying to get him. He said no. So you pivot. Mitch Haniger's a good roll the dice if he can get back to being healthy. Like, a right-hand hitting outfielder with like some thump is something they've kind of lacked these last couple of years. I was telling like one of my buddies who's a Giants fan, I'm like, even if they got Judge and they got Correa and Carlos Rodon signed here, and even if they went out and got like a Verlander or something like that for these, there's probably still not better than the Dodgers and the Padres. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, those teams have basically made themselves like a target with how talented they are. And so what you need is like the Giants to start getting some of these like minor league guys, some of these top prospects, to make it up and actually have an impact right now. Like,
contender World Series. But you think they can be competitive enough within the division to maybe, if not win the division, maybe at least sneak in one of those wild card spots this year?
Like, for sure. I mean, what killed the Giants this last year was they weren't very competitive. I think they, for the longest time, they were within a few games of that second wild card spot, which, obviously you get into that game and who knows what can happen. They were actually really bad against teams like the Rockies and Diamondback. I think the Diamondbacks like owned the Giants this last year. And so if you can hold your own, like tread water against the Padres and the Dodgers and like some of those teams that are maybe a little bit better, and then just beat up on the teams that you should be better than, then like that's kind of the formula right there. With the second wild card right now, it kind of keeps teams in it for even longer. And if you get good years, I mean, they lost Carlos Rodon, which obviously hurts because he was a workhorse this last year, and you knew he was going to give you a chance. Logan Webb has kind of like slowly emerged as a top of the rotation guy, which he's a guy that Giants fans love and kind of root for because he's from Rockland. He actually used to come out and throw bullpens at our practice and stuff like that. So
nice.
Kind of cool to see a homegrown guy having that kind of success. But if you can, that 2 through 5 in the rotation, if you can, get a bounce back year from a Desclafani or an Alex Wood or, Stripling or Mania can kind of slide right in and give you a chance, then, they'll be competitive for sure. Like they'll stay in games. Like, I'm trying to think of what the lineup will look like right now. We still have a couple holes that probably need to be addressed, like the catching position being one of them, that I'm hoping like Farhan is planning on addressing, because the second half platoon of like Joey Bart, who I'm not out on Joey Bart yet. I'm still holding on my Joey Bart stock. But Austin wins, and it's just you're basically, I don't know how long you can sustain that for a whole season. So
we got to get to my favorite part here. We got to get to rapid fire. We've done this with just about every guest, and it's your turn once again, T-Paine, if you're ready.
Yep.
All right. So first question, do you get recognized, or has it ever been brought up, your hotel room breakdown from the SMSU baseball manager day in the life video?
Yes. It is.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Minimum number of outlets in a hotel room. How many? What's that number to you?
Oh, minimum. You have to have like at least 10. Like, you need options.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Gotta have options.
Definitely.
What's the standard size TV? What's that going to be a minimum of?
Oh, nowadays you need to be at least in the 40s.
At least
At least in the 40s. Anything
That's
less
fair.
than that,
Yeah.
like I might as well just pull out my
Not
laptop
32,
and watch
right?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
32 is like fine, depending. You gotta
Yeah.
distance from the TV. Like
Right.
32 will get the job done. Like if
Okay.
I'm further back though, I need something probably
Yeah.
this day and age, like at a hotel, you know.
I hear
I'd
ya.
like something a little bigger, flat screen, high definition.
Yes.
Of course.
Preferably a smart TV.
Yes.
Nowadays,
Oh,
like
sure, yeah.
something with like
Roku, yeah.
yeah, with like the Roku or the Chromecast, like
Oh, yeah.
built in. Yeah, that would be ideal.
Do you still have InSyncs or All I Ever Wanted as your alarm on your phone?
I do not. I have
Oh.
changed to just a standard like stock ringtone. Yeah, or stock
Sure,
alarm
yeah.
tone.
You had
Yeah.
2 alarms set on your phone when we were rooming together. What was the other song? I couldn't remember for the life of me.
I think it was a Wiz Khalifa song. It's called like
Yes.
Red Carpet, and
Yes.
it like the opening or like the lyric that goes on is like I don't want to wake up,
Yes.
and so it's obviously very good to not wake to hit snooze to.
In my time rooming with T-Paine, there were some mornings where I had phantom wake ups and I heard that song and I heard NSYNC playing, and I'm like, what day, what time is it? But those 2 songs burned in my memory now forever, and I'm glad we brought that up. A very important roommate question as well. If you had to choose one, gun to your head, get off the fence for a weekend trip, whether it be baseball, whatever, Bonnet, Barthel, or yours truly, who you rooming with?
That is tough. Gun to my head. I love U Shield and I love Bo, but I would probably go Barthel.
Mhm.
Wrong answer, but I respect it nonetheless as well. There we go. That's all the rapid fire questions I have.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But Coach Paine, it has been an absolute pleasure having you back on the show. There's one more thing before we
Yes.
go. We have merch. I don't know if you're interested in a Minnesota shirt, or if you want stickers, or if you want a hat or something like that. We have a lot of cool stuff. I mean, if you're willing, yeah, we can hook you up with some. So let us know, and we'll send you a shirt or something. Whatever you prefer, though. Yeah.
How about this? Let's do a trade. You guys send me your most popular thing, whether it be a hat or a shirt or whatever, and I'll send you guys some WilliamJessup baseball apparel.
Deal.
Done.
That's all we get.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, perfect. We'll exchange mailing address, shipping addresses
go.
offline.
We will do that. Absolutely. we'll write it down and things like that. But
Cool.
anyway, Coach Paine, absolute pleasure. We will be talking to you very soon and getting you that merch. So appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy holidays. Good catching up with you.